Okay, everyone, I think we'll start the webinar. I'll start with an introduction from my side. So to start off with, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from around the world, which I think we're in the same place anyway. Welcome and thank you for joining today's online dialogue session. My name is Natalie and I'm from the Seed Group. It's a pleasure to have you joining us for today's live discussion, Mapping UAE Investment in 2025, Family Offices, Startups, and Growth Opportunities. Today's session brings together a brilliant panel of industry leaders and investors to talk about key trends shaping the UAE's investment landscape this year. We'll hear about how family offices are fueling innovation, the reality of scaling startups in the region, and what's ahead for the UAE-India investment corridor. To make the most of our session today and maximize time for our Q&A later, I'll go ahead and introduce our guest speakers right away. We're honored today to be joined by Ms. Priyanka from Seed Ventures, Mr. Luciano Vital, CEO of Vital Holdings, Mr. Prakash Ramaseshan, founding partner at Pragya and an advisor for the private office of Sheikh Saeed bin Ahmed Al Maktoum. Each speaker will take us through their unique perspectives on opportunities and strategic moves across different sectors in the UAE. Here's how our session will flow today. First, we'll hear from Ms. Priyanka, who will talk about how the UAE Family Offices are powering the next generation of startups. Next, Mr. Luciano Vital will share his insights on how scaling in the UAE and what startups and investors need to know. Finally, Mr. Prakash will explore the UAE-India investment corridor and the cross-border opportunities it holds in 2025. We'll then wrap up for a Q&A and closing remarks. Just a quick note for everyone, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat box. We'll address as many as time allows during the Q&A segment. Your name will not be shown publicly as well. We're also recording today's event and we'll share it next week with all of you. We encourage you to share it with your colleagues so they can watch it as well. And hopefully you're able to follow through till the end of the session today. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to watch it later when we send it to you. We'll follow up individually after the session. So let's dive in. To start off, I'd like to introduce Ms. Priyanka.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. And thank you for joining this webinar. Before I share my screen, I just wanted to introduce myself. As Natalie explained, my name is Priyanka. I am heading Seed Ventures within Seed Group. Okay. So today I'll be sharing insights into how global VC is evolving, where some of the most exciting opportunities lie across mainly three sectors, that is AI, fintech, and climate tech, and how the MENA region, particularly UAE, is becoming a critical destination for innovation and capital. So first, before we begin, I think it's important for us to understand the global venture capital landscape in 2024 and how it has evolved in 2025. So globally, the venture capital market, as you all know, has been showing renewed signs of life in 2025 since post-COVID time. After a period of corrections, we are now seeing healthy, sustainable growth, with global funding reaching 368 billion in 2024. Interestingly enough, Q1 of this year has recorded the highest funding volume in 3 years, showing that investor confidence is returning. Nowadays, investors are more cautious. They focus mainly on profitability, strong unit economics, and long-term gains. While these global trends are exciting, what we are here today is to cover how the MENA, and particularly the UAE, is building its own strong path in venture capital. So as you can see, in 2024, MENA startups raised around 1.9 billion in VC funding. And Saudi Arabia led the way with $750 million, followed closely by the UAE at 613 million. Despite a 29% dip in overall value, deal counts actually increased, and investor diversity has also expanded. MENA region has set another record. We have seen this Q1 of 2025 alone, a 21 M&A exits. This showcased the region's growing liquidity, exit paths for investors, etc. One sector that's leading this growth, both globally and regionally, is definitely artificial intelligence. So the next slide, I'm going to go through what the artificial intelligence sector has been in the MENA region and what are some of the prominent AI deals in the region. So governments, as you all know, have declared AI a strategic priority. Saudi Arabia has launched a $40 billion AI fund, and UAE at the same time has also rolled out its national AI strategy 2031. Globally, by H1 2024, AI accounted for 30% of all venture capital funding. MENA is also following the trend with major deals, and some of these prominent deals of the MENA region are as follows. You can see them. InstaDeep raised 100 million USD in Series B. Sentient Labs raised $85 million in seed round, and Intelmatics also raised 20 million in Series A. This is signaling a very, very strong regional momentum in enterprise AI, Web3, cybersecurity, decision intelligence, etc. And I would also like to add over here one very important point. We as Seed Group were the ones who introduced or helped InstaDeep in their market entry in 2021. Now, these deals definitely highlight a mix of investors from local MENA VCs like the Shuruk, Raed, and also global players like Silicon Valley Funds and Corporate. While AI has always created new markets, fintech remains still the backbone of startup funding in the region. So the next slide, we're going to go through fintech, and this is one of my favorite topics also. In Saudi Arabia, fintech funding jumped an impressive 391% year on year in H1 2024. Some of the major deals that we have seen is Tamara's 110 million USD Series A, Tabby's $200 million Series D, which was recent, and M&T Haaland's 260 million Series D. The fintech companies that we have highlighted have definitely attracted some of the world's most respected investors. So I'm going to go through a few of these individually to show you some of the active investors in the space. STC Pay, for example, received a 200 million investment from Western Union, making it the region's first fintech unicorn. Tamara was backed by global heavyweights like Checkout.com, Koi2 Management, and Saudi's Sanable Investments, along with debt financing from Goldman Sachs. Tabby attracted major investors, including Sequoia Capital in India, Mubadala Investment Company, PayPal Ventures, and Wellington Management. Egypt's M&T Haaland secured another significant backing from Chimera Abu Dhabi, Apicorp, and Gulf Capital. And as we all know, VO Bank, that grew over here in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, was supported by ADQ, Alpha Dubai Holding, Etisalat Group, and First Abu Dhabi Bank. This level of investor confidence demonstrates the incredible validation of MENA's fintech ecosystem. This is also showing that beyond finance and technology, we have to also look at one other sector which has gained great attention. And then the next slide, I'm going to go through that sector in more detail, and that is climate tech. Globally, climate tech investments stabilized at around 30 billion in 2024 after previous volatility. Some of the key areas that investments went into in sustainability, agriculture, clean energy, EV infrastructure. MENA's domestic climate tech funding fell 28% year on year, but the UAE actually ramped up outbound investments by 138% in 2024. This was backed also by some global leaders like Zap Energy and NEO. And also, we saw initiatives taken by the UAE government to bring global events like COP28 and introduce new platforms like Masdar City, Hub 71, and DIFC's FinTech Hive cohort, which help and accelerate green innovation locally. Masdar is backed by Mubadala Investment Company and is heading some of the major renewable energy projects both within the UAE and internationally. Saudi Arabia, we have Aqua Power with significant investment from a public investment fund, that is the PIF, and is advancing large scale of renewable energy and desalination projects. Also, another initiative which is of great interest and it hasn't been spoken much is Blue Carbon, which is founded by Sheikh Ahmed Dalmouk Al Maktoum, which is undertaking extensive forest conservation efforts to generate carbon credits across multiple continents. So now moving on, where exactly is the momentum consolidating? So let's look at that. In 2024, UAE secured 188 deals and around 613 million in funding, with DIFC and ADGM playing key roles in creating a very supportive regulatory environment. Its clear startup infrastructure and government support and access to sovereign wealth are the main reason why global investors are choosing UAE today. We are also seeing top-tier firms like General Atlantic, 500 Global establish their regional headquarters in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. This clearly shows that UAE's status as a global gateway for capital. But none of this would have been possible without the leadership and the support of institutional capital and the sovereign wealth funds that are fueling these ecosystems. So we're going to, so let's look at that. Second. So there are two initiatives that are very important and that we should look at. That is Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and UAE's Sentinel Plan, both which prioritize innovation and investment. So sovereign wealth funds like Saudi's PIF and Abu Dhabi's Mubadala are major backers of tech and startup ecosystem. This alignment with government vision, institutional capital, and startup growth is creating a good environment for investors, both locally as well as internationally. While global capital started retreating in after COVID, MENA held its ground. They were backed by sovereign funds, regional VCs, and institutional accelerators. The Middle East proved it's no longer dependent on any of the international sentiments. So it's clear that we have seen some of the prominent deals in different sectors. And so it's clear that Saudi Arabia is leading most of these funding, and UAE is also on a positive momentum. From what I see, what is supercharging this VC landscape is definitely also the sovereign wealth engagement. And this is through two ways. One is because they bring deep pockets and they have good patience on long-term projects. So when you look at big projects in AI or clean tech or biotech that need large capital, then they can look at Gulf now because there is a capacity and there is enough capital in the region. Secondly, it also aligns with the interest of startups with the national goals. A startup solving a problem like a fintech or a renewable energy solution will definitely find funding and strategic support because this aids into the success of Vision 2030 or similar agendas. So now we have gone through a couple of industries and some of their prominent deals, and we have also mapped the opportunity landscape in the region. So I'm going to go ahead and explain to you what Seed Ventures do. So we are a strategic investment facilitation arm operating under the private office of Sheikh Saeed bin Ahmed Al Maktoum. Our role is to help innovative international companies like InstaDeep, for example, to establish, scale, and grow in the UAE and GCC region. We do this mainly through 4 pillars. That is market entry enablement. So that is through navigating regulatory, licensing, etc. We do investment readiness. We position our partners to attract venture capital and strategic investment. We do revenue acceleration, leveraging our network to generate commercial success from day one itself. We also do government and corporate linkages, connecting startups with policymakers, sovereign funds, and corporates to drive growth. So in short, we act as a launching pad for these international companies, helping them grow, scale, and become investment ready in the MENA region. With that, I'm going to conclude, and I would like to invite anybody who's interested in the MENA region to get in touch with me directly. Natalie, over to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Priyanka. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Luciano Vital to present.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much, Natalie. Thank you, Priyanka and Rakesh. A pleasure to be with you here today and all of the audience around the world. I'll share my screen, and after that, can I share my screen, please, Natalie? I think you have to allow me. Okay. So, oh, good. No, I'm half Brazilian and half Italian, and we have offices around the world, 45 offices around the world today. Our main base was in New York, and I came from the M&A side, working since 1994 in the M&A with a Swedish company called the Electrolux, and they helped them to go to Brazil. After that, I went to London, helping Electrolux to buy a German company, an Italian company, and they went to the United States to help companies to buy a Brazilian asset. That was a big operation of $6.3 billion in 2000. Today, we have a little bit more than 250 merger and acquisitions completed, and the $6 billion in transactions. And I was educated in Brazil, United States, Harvard Business School, and we were looking, and they start from this point, we were looking for long-term investments. And even when we invest or investors comes for a startup, they are looking for something that can grow and can be sustainable all the time. And that's the point that I will tell about how to scale in UAE and why we choose for Vital Holding to be here in UAE and with Seed Group as well. So UAE is a very attractive global place for entrepreneurs. Business friendly regulations and tax incentives, all the government and the infrastructure here is global, is multicultural, people from every place in the world. I was talking with a friend yesterday. It's look like my Harvard class that we have 39, 20, 50 sometimes different nationalities. A strong government support for innovation. The government here, it's very important player in the region. They do not allow you to do business, but they improve and they support, they incentive us to do business here. And a lot of investors, VCs, and the family offices are doing investments here. That's a very big ecosystem for investors, even because of the taxation as well, better and the very effective taxation. That's a strategic gateway between West and the East as well. Here we have connections like with BRICS, Europeans, Chinese, Indians. We can say today the UAE is the most important hub in the world. I can say that's a new Switzerland. That's improving money, business, trading, logistics. And most important, in my view, when we decide to come here, is stable and growing market. When you go for another countries or another cultures, you have elections, and when you have elections, you have things changing. Like in the United States, you have it from Republicans to Democrats and back to Republicans, and things have sometimes a swing politics, swing economies, swing folks. That's different here in UAE. They have a straightforward focus for the long term, and all the families, all the government, all the companies, it's aligned in this view to grow the country and the long-term view. That's a key point. And what is the challenge when you have that? First challenge, adapt to the local culture and regulations. Country that we go, you have to understand the culture, understand the regulations, understand how to do business, the dynamics of the business. And of course, if you are the hub, an international hub, we have a lot of money, you have investors, you have different culture, everyone is coming to here every year. So you have a high competition demands, and you need a clear differentiation. You need to position yourself in a different way. So it's a competitive market. Another challenge is to build a team, because when you have a very multicultural team from people around the world, work in different cultures, different countries, a lot of cross-border operations, different time zones, different languages, different accents. I have a Brazilian accent, my friends here, sometimes Indian accents or Pakistanese accents or British accents. So you have to align the team, and not easy. That's a challenge to do that. And in my point of view, the most important point and the most challenging one is to have a local partner to accelerate the market entrance. Here I can say something for you from my experience in coming to UAE. Of course, we went to United States, where we have operations like in Germany, in Italy, in Norway, in Brazil, in China, in India. But when we came to UAE, it's really a different ecosystem. And to have a good partner and the right partner, in my view, is the most important point for success. It's a key success. And of course, in our case, we choose to be here with Seed Group and with the private office. And that was the key point for our success. Of course, it's not a rule for everyone, but when we started the business here, we get our investment back just in the first months. Was a very surprise for us, a great surprise. But that I'm telling, of course, it's not a rule for everyone. Sometimes it takes time, 1 to 2 years to have your investments back. But for us, was so well prepared from our key accounts in the Seed Group that we went to the market, and go to the market was so successful for us. And not just doing business in UAE, but mostly doing business in Brazil and the United States, and bringing investors and companies to UAE. What is the opportunities here? Vital Holding, we work with 3 main pillars. We work with business transformation. We help companies to go better and do more results. We work with merger, acquisitions, and investments. And we work as well with internationalization. So when we look for opportunities to be here, one good opportunity, the growth. The market is growing and consistently growing here in the MENA and the Asia region. If you look for the world now, that will be the place that we have more growth in the next years. The second point was BRIC countries accessibility. We have today in Brazil or in China or in Russia or in India, you have some restraints like taxations, barriers to go to around another markets. But when you are in UAE, you can connect all the markets at the same time, even USA and Europe. So it's a neutral country with good connections. And this can be a very impactful for growth and a very big opportunity when you want to grow international, want to grow worldwide. I can say I'm 50 years old, 52 years old. So I used to go to Europe, to United States to grow. We went to China. And if you have to find where you have the growth, where money you come, where you be the biggest place to make trades and to hub for business for the next 30 years, security is UAE. And you have a government support and strategic partnerships as well here. The high growth sector that we are looking and we are working with is tech, of course, fintechs, healthcare, sustainability, real estate. The real estate is booming in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, probably one of the best real estate market in the world today. Food security, of course, because you have 4 billion people just looking for the South Asia and the Asia side, and you have 4 billion people in the other sides of the world. So he is really in the center. He is really the epicenter of the world. Logistics and infrastructure. I think that were the best place to be. If you are in one of these sector, you must be here if you want to grow internationally. And what is the key point? Just to a conclusion about the market here. UAE provide a robust ecosystem for global scale up. If you want to really scale up your business, you have to be here. Second point is combining infrastructures, incentives, and access to capital. Here we're free to work, we're incentives to work, and you have capital to work. That's a very important point because some place you are not really able to work. Like a taxation here is a big impact in your business. And that's a big tax efficiency in UAE. And it's a global key for launchpad international success. Here you connect around the world. And I can say, in my few words, that's a place to be and to build wealth around the world. If you want to look for the long term, and like we are looking, we did a plan. We have 35 years in the market, and we have a plan for the next 30 years. And here we choose to put our new headquarters because we believe that will be the most stable place to build and to be for the next 30 years. If you have some guests and questions or comments, please chat with Natalie, and they'll be very happy to discuss more in the end of the presentation. I'll be very quick here just to accelerate the time. You have more time to discuss together. Thanks so much, Natalie.
Thank you, Mr. Luciano. Lastly, Mr. Prakash, over to you. Take it away.
Thank you so much. While I'm sharing my screen, I'll just give you a background of myself. I'm a chartered accountant, studied in India, and came into the UAE last 20 years back. I find UAE as my home, and it has a deep affinity to India, and I have done all of my work in the UAE-India corridor. So I'm making the presentation today about the UAE-India investment corridor with a focus on tech, and give you a flavor of some of the transactions we are discussing and doing, just to speak about some of the key areas of growth and opportunities. So this is just a prologue to say that the UAE has invested significantly in infra over the past 2 decades, both the city infra and the trade and port and logistics infra. And I think the next decade, 2 decades are going to be about soft infra while the focus stays on developing the city. Immigration, golden visas has been a big push for the last 3-4 years, and you've seen the population increase as well. So there's going to be the soft infra investments going forward, which are going to be big. UAE and India do have a strong historic relationship. We have a significant trade partnership built around energy, but we also signed a comprehensive trade pact recently, and we are at turnovers of somewhere between $75 and $80 billion as a trade partnership. We have a significant linkage at the workforce level. Almost 40% of the population of the UAE is Indian. So we have the largest diaspora here. And we think that the key growth areas in terms of industry outside of technology, which I'm going to cover in the presentation, are media and entertainment, engineering on both the products and services side, and life sciences and pharmaceutical, which are all big areas of export from India. So the question really is, how can we build the bridge with the UAE for something that India has already done with the rest of the world? In terms of the key deliverables, we think you need basically three things to make it happen. You need a clear strategy, and you need a combination of the capital raising and the business development capabilities. And these are things that Seed Group have in abundance. And we're trying to see how we can, how I can work with the Seed Group basically on the India UAE opportunity to specialize in that area. Yes. How do I go ahead? Lovely. Just some key data points. UAE and India, in terms of GDP, UAE is about $500 billion, India is about $3.5 trillion, but we have a much lower per capita GDP than the UAE. We're about fifth largest in the world in nominal GDP and third largest PPP, but we're getting to third largest perhaps in a decade. But 70% of India's GDP is domestic consumption, and almost 75% of UAE's GDP is trade. So, different dynamics. Our populations are vastly apart. We're the most populous country in the world at 1.4 billion, looking to stabilize about 1.5 to 1.6 billion. And almost 40% of our population is below 25. So we've got a demographic dividend to exploit. The Middle East has almost 85% expat population, and India's diaspora is a big number. I'll cover the information technology piece here to say that the IT sector in India is almost 7.5%, 8% of our GDP at $250 billion. And we have global leadership in IT services and business process services. Deep tech and intellectual property have now become a key focus area going forward. And in terms of global unicorns, the US is the largest at almost 50% of the world. But in the rest of the world, China and India compete closely. They're at number one, we're at number two. But if you're looking at India diaspora plus Indian unicorns, we're about the same level as China. So we are a significant force in global unicorns. The strategy of the UAE around technology is really to go and become a major player in AI. And they wish to go to number one in the AI rankings. And they're building infrastructure, which is basically data centers and energy infrastructure to achieve that objective. So the objectives of the UAE and India are different on the IT side, but there are a lot of bridges that we can build between the UAE and India. I'll cover that as I walk forward. The India experience on digital infra basically is to use infrastructure to serve our very large population, which was underbanked till about 10 years back. And we developed three things. We developed a digital highway, what we call the India stack, which has an identity layer, which is called Aadhaar, which has a payments layer, which has a data empowerment layer. And around that, we create a lot of value for our population. We had the largest number of bank accounts for any country over the past 10 years institutionalized, which is almost 500 million bank accounts were created, which ensured that the public service deliveries to people, all intermediation was removed from that, and money could go directly to the account of a human being. Almost 1,500 government services got digitized, and our UPI transactions, which is digital transactions, are almost 3x of that of the US right now. So those are some broad facts about what we've done. Other applications included COVID, which was a large drive. We were able to get almost 2 billion vaccinations done. For the size of our country, it was a major problem, and technology helped us serve it. The fact that we had a digital highway helped us achieve that goal. The challenges clearly are on the digital divide, which basically is urban versus rural India and access, and issues around privacy and tech literacy. So these are issues that India has to address going forward. So if I'm looking at the UAE's goal really is to be, as I mentioned before, the leader in AI. And the entire allocation of capital is going towards creating an AI infrastructure here, which is going to be robust, which is going to be 100% sovereign cloud, and which is going to lead to a significant portion of the computation of government operations on the digital cloud. So that's the strategy of the UAE. And the UAE believes that the investments here are going to be in excess of 24, 25 billion just in Abu Dhabi. And job creations, they expect at over 5,000 jobs. but lots of the talent for that will have to be imported. Again, India can play a role there. And between Microsoft, BlackRock, and MGX, almost $50 billion is being put to work on creating data centers and infrastructure in the UAE, and then mapping out that strategy globally. So there'll be investments in other developed markets as well. So this is basically the UAE strategy around technology. So now I'll try and speak about how India and the UAE can work together. The foundational technology of the India stack is already working in the UAE on a product called the UAE Pass, which is a digital signature. And almost 4 million residents in the UAE are using it today. On the AI strategy of India of UAE going forward, Indian companies, both the tech companies, which is services companies, and e-commerce companies, they're going to have their products sit on it. And there's going to be a need for significant skill manpower there, where India can service some of that supply. And of course, in terms of building the ecosystem, which is the work that I'm looking to do with the seed group, there's a large investment universe in India, which is fund managers and companies, which can lead to capital gains if you invest smartly. And we have a chance to bring some of those companies back to the UAE and therefore bring those technologies back to the UAE. So those are the key bridges between India and the UAE. In terms of the larger universe, I'll touch upon this quickly to say that there are large companies where we have a certain strategy, and they are basically the emerging information technology companies where we have a different strategy. In the large companies, we want to go after business leaders, and there's an opportunity to get those leaders to the UAE and grow them organically, or to create structures in the Middle East, raise capital in the Middle East to do inorganic play, which is to buy companies in India, which have a significant market share there. In terms of the India ecosystem, just touching again briefly upon what kind of companies we find there. We're finding digital-first companies which are replacing bricks and mortars, which is really e-commerce. A good example of that is a company called Mama Earth, which has done very well on the retail side. The digitization happening and improving the efficiency of small, medium enterprises. There are SaaS models being created in India for the global marketplace. There are ecosystems being created to replace manual processes. And we have recently, over the past maybe 5-7 years, gotten to deep tech innovation as well. We made a start, but I think there's a big road ahead there. Yeah. Now, in all of this, the seed group can play a significant role because of two reasons. They can provide access to capital, both from their own books and from access they have in the market. And they can provide capabilities doing business development, which is to bring companies back here, connected to the market, and help them grow. So these are kind of the things that seed group can be involved in. I'll spend a little time speaking just about two case studies that I'm right now discussing with the seed group, one of which is organic, one is inorganic. The organic opportunity is to support an out-of-home technology company, which has a patented technology. They've already had a successful customer in a G10 country, which is a railway network. Railway, as you know, has got significant out-of-home presence. The valuations, the G10 country has led to a tech PC investor from that country investing into the company. The valuations have been done by a Big Four consulting firm. The valuations are about $100 million pre-money, on which a certain amount of capital has been brought in. So it's a reasonably good, well-sized company. And the opportunity is twofold. One is to do the business development, which is to say, if they're already working with a G10 country on the rail network side, we can do the same opportunities with Etihad Rail or Dubai Metro or any of the others in our country. The other is the investment side, where we've recently learned that Al Arabia and Multiply have come together to form a fund to invest in out-of-home globally. So these are moves that are happening in the domestic market, which show the attractiveness of out-of-home. And out-of-home in the UAE, as a percentage of media, is maybe one of the highest in the world. So we're chasing the out-of-home opportunity here to say, can we bring this company here, raise capital for them, and also help them develop a business here? On the inorganic side, just to give a flavor of a company, which is a mid-sized media entertainment company in the business of content creation and distribution for movies. So they do real action, animation, and gaming, which is typically the whole portfolio. And they're presently discussing an acquisition in India, which is a top 5 company in India. The acquisition size is about $90-100 million, on which we are putting about $70-80 million to work because the rest of it is debt on the books. Again, the opportunity is to say that we form structures in the UAE, raise capital in the UAE, and use that to acquire a company in India in this space as a leader. So the opportunities here I'm highlighting are to say that if we can create companies here, which individually have market caps or valuations at start of close to $100 million, we help them grow in this market, grow the valuations to $300-500 million. Then we have an opportunity of either listing them or exiting strategically by trade sales, etc. My belief is that scale leads to facilitation of exit, because lots of the challenges that the tech VC world has had globally is companies which are not able to significantly scale but are profitable find exits very difficult, and therefore investors who have invested tend to stay longer than they should have. So we're trying to chase scale and quality to ensure that exits are facilitated easily. Yeah. So that's the gist of my presentation. I'll hand it back. Yeah, I'm done.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Prakash. Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone, Priyanka, Luciano, and Prakash, for sharing with us your knowledge, expertise, and experience. We will now move across to the Q&A segment. We have received dozens of great questions during registration. We can't address all of them today, but we've selected a few that we feel captured the key themes that we've submitted here today. If there's any additional questions, please just type them in the chat box below. Your names won't be shown in public, but our team will take note of them and we will reach out to you directly to answer them. So let's begin. Firstly, the first question, at what stage should a startup seek funding from the UAE, and what is the prevailing investment thesis in the region? I believe this question is addressed to Ms. Priyanka.
Okay. Thanks, Natalie. That's a very good question. Ideally, I would say startups should approach UAE once they have at least achieved some traction and are ready to scale, meaning post-product market fit, or typically at the late seed, Series A or Series B stage. While there is an active angel networks as well as early stage VCs in the region, I believe personally from the experience that we have had, the real strength of the ecosystem is in the growth capital. Investors here are mainly looking for startups that have already validated their core product or build an initial customer base. And now they just need the capital to pretty much accelerate their expansion. So readiness to scale always aligns with the UAE investment thesis. Apart from this, I would say some of the points that we have already discussed or covered in the presentation very well aligns with the UAE investment thesis, like scalability to emerging markets, strong unit economics, and alignment with the national initiatives or priorities. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Priyanka. All right, next question. What practical challenges do foreign companies face when entering the UAE market, and what factors drive their success or failure? And how does the UAE compare on a global scale? I believe this question is addressed to Mr. Luciano. If you could please help us with this question. You are on mute.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's a good question and a very wide question. As I told before, I think in going to the practical side, to the ground, how we operate here, one of the key points is a local sponsorship. Sometimes you have, for some areas, you have to have a sponsorship or a local partner to do that. But even if it's not required, I can say that's very important. That's a vital point to success, to have a good local partner. The another point is regulation. Of course, in every market in the world, regulation is very important, mainly when we have to be in compliance and do financing or banking and everything that we're exporting or importing. Regulation is very important. Another challenge is understand the culture of locals, the culture of the country. And I can say, if you want to come here to do really business, because they are full of business. They work a lot here. It's a lot of meetings, a lot of things happening every day. I never seen a place around the world in my 35 years of experience in Europe, in United States, in Brazil, that was so full of opportunities, and the people work hard, work long hours, do a lot of business, meetings. That's full of energy here. That's very important if you come here. That's a challenge because different time zones, different languages, and you have to work a lot. And that's good if you want to grow, to scale up. But it's a place to scale up. And what is drives success or failure? I think the most important point here for success is a good local partner, a strong local partner. That's around the world. When we go to another country, if you have someone that can guide you, help you, teach you, that's most important to success. Like we were here with the seed group and the private office, and as I told before, we did a build very deep planning, business plan, a good strategy to go to the market. And when we went to the market, in the first months, we got our payback. That was good. Of course, sometimes you have to have more long time, and I'll talk that for the downside. The downside, you have to have money to invest here. It's not cheap, it's not easy, and sometimes you have 1-2 years to get your returns. But even fast than around the world, even fast than Europe, even fast from Brazil. Here is a place that you can do a lot of things fast, but you have to be full of energy, concentrated, and work a lot. Another key point is to have a clear strategy here, because it's a lot of competition and all the world is coming. So you have to be very focused and very clear. What is your differentiation? How do you compete? And how to approach, how to help your clients. Another point that can be drives for success is culture of quality and innovation. UAE is a place for quality, for innovation, for differentiation. Everything here has a very high standard. And if you want to compete here, want to be here, you have to be the best of the best. You have to have a state-of-the-art quality in your product, in your segment. And I say all the time, and that's very important now. I say all the time, the most important thing, in my view, in my experience, to be successful around the world, and mainly here in UAE, is networking. If you have good connections, you have good networking, you have good people introducing you, that will be much easier, much helpful, and most probably that you have a success. That's, I think, it's my view for this question, Nathalie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Luciano. On to the next question. With the growing focus on sectors like technology, renewable energy, and healthcare in the Dubai-India economic relationship, what types of collaborations or investments do you see having the highest growth potential in the coming years? Mr. Prakash, I believe this is your question.
Thank you so much for giving me a chance to answer this question. Yes, I think technology, renewable energy, and healthcare are sectors in which India has a significant role globally. The growth in renewable energy in particular has been very significant in India over the past 20 years. Healthcare is a sector where India has done very well, especially on the production side. India has the highest number of US FDA approved plants in the world. In technology, we have the highest number of SCI, CMM companies in the world. So the question really is, what is the aim of the UAE on the capital gain side and the business development side? And how do we create the bridge between India and the UAE to ensure that the right companies come here who have an opportunity here, and our capital is invested into the right opportunities so that it makes reasonable return with a high certainty of exit. So I always feel that opportunities, if you're looking at direct investment opportunities in countries like India or companies from India coming here, one way to look at them is who are the kind of managers who put capital in them before, and try and see how successful they've been in their home markets, and then kind of bring them here and try and replicate that strategy here. There are many Indian companies in the world of technology who've been very successful globally. Again, each of them have a niche service that they provide. And the question is, how can some of those services be useful here? Just to give you an example, I was advising a client last year about growing an oil and gas business in the Middle East. They already serve clients like BP at individual numbers of between $30 and $50 million every year, which is the billings they have to BP. A company which has a turnover about 750 million, market cap about 2.5 billion. So question really is that if they're working with BP at a 50 million billing, can they do the same services for an ADNOC or any company in this region? So it's much easier when proof of concept is established that we bring a company here and connect the dots. So that's what I think. I think both in all these three sectors, India has significant scale. The question is to understand the country strategy, the market opportunity, and connect the right companies across the bridge.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash, for that insight. All right, so I believe we will move to the last question that we have time for today. How do family offices evaluate investment opportunities, and what key factors or strategic levers typically drive their investment decisions? Ms. Priyanka, I believe this is...
Thank you, Natalie. Okay, that's one of the questions I guess all family offices get when we're talking about investments. So generally, I think as a rule of thumb, family offices value investments where they can add more value and not just capital, such as the family offices mainly over here in the UAE. What I have seen as a norm is opening doors to government bodies, having discussions with large corporation and distribution channels are some of the value that they bring in to companies that they invest in. Even with the capital, family offices want to understand the roadmap of returns, obviously, and also looks at risk management. They look at clear exit opportunities through M&A, IPOs or secondary sales for that matter. And this has been a rising kind of an outlook within the UAE and Saudi Arabia, because these are the two MENA countries that are more and more involved in VC funding, family offices that are involved in funding. So an opportunity that fits into their multi-generational wealth as a strategy and along with the current trends is what they would look at. So yeah, I believe that's, and I can give an example. We have Al Futtaim Motors over here, and they have a fund within that's owned by a family, and it's not exactly a family office, but it's owned by a family group. They have a fund within, and they look at investments specifically in the automobile or automotive sector. So yeah, where they can add value, basically.
Okay, thank you, Priyanka, for addressing the question. Sorry about that. All right, and thank you everyone for joining today's session. We hope we addressed at least some of your questions, and if not, please feel free to reach out and our team will reach out to you directly. Before we end today's session, I would just like to say a few words about what Seed Group does and how we go about our partnership program, which a lot of you inquired about. So just in summary, at Seed Group, we work very, very closely in partnership with our strategic collaborators and the companies that we work with. Our clear focus is driving growth and long-term success in the UAE market. Our engagement typically begins with a series of customized workshops designed to align our teams, strengthen market readiness, and define a robust go-to-market strategy. We then move into execution, working closely with our partners and their teams. We continuously refine our approach based on ongoing insights, and we measure our success through both qualitative and quantitative outcomes. Ultimately, our strength lies in combining our proven methodologies with our partners' expertise to deliver meaningful and sustainable results. So I hope that gave you just a brief idea on how that typically works. Again, thank you for tuning in, and keep an eye out for our full panel recording and recap. And thank you very much, everybody. This was very wonderful, and I appreciate all the speakers here today. Have a great day, everyone.